What's up, everybody? I've got Kevin Mcguire here from BT Grace Homes. Oh, he's just destructing the whole thing. Now nothing fun's gonna happen. We're tearing down the house, y'all. We're starting over. We find no reason to not just get a clean slate, you know? He's a home builder in the Houston area, actually a little bit north of Houston. And we are at one of his sites today. This is at the framing stage. And he's going to take us through some of the unique details he's used on this build. And Kevin, go ahead and tell him something about yourself.
So I'm a certified passive house builder. Just got my certification October of last year. We have started in the high performance realm probably a year ago, learning and doing better, building better. It started off with going to an Allison Bell's conference out in Austin. Met Jesse Hunt, who's the Fias House Houston president, and kind of bloomed the relationship from there. Jesse's taught me a lot. So this one's not a passive house, but it's still going to be high performance for comfort for the owners. We focus mainly northwest of Houston, but if the job's good enough or interesting enough, we'll go south of Houston too.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go take a look at some of the stuff, Kevin.
So first little detail we've got here is our window detail. We put a 5-degree bevel slope on our seal. What this does for us is if any water, when water gets past our window, it's gonna not sit on our sill plate and it's gonna wanna try to come out and run down our WRB. When we get ready to set the windows, we do a either stretch tape or a liquid flashing, and we'll come up 6 inches here, and then we actually go across our top plate and then across and down more across the top before we set the window so that we get the air sealing capabilities.
Okay.
Because we are going for less than 1 ACH 50 on this house, and we'll achieve it. We typically hit around 0.8, to be honest. I'll show you the header detail here in a minute. It's kind of unique as well, but you got any questions on this?
Yeah, so your pan flashing, how deep is it going to be? Is it going to run the full depth of the sill, or is it going to stop? Because I go and see these houses sometimes where it only runs about halfway through.
Yep. So with us, I do like to cover the full pan. So this is a 2x6. So if we did the stretch tape, we'd do the 8-inch so that we could reach back here and come down at least an inch onto our WRB. With liquid flash, we can do whatever we want. But I like to cover the full thing because not so much worried about like water penetrating into the house. It's water's going to get here. If it sits for any long period of time and continues to happen, it's going to start rotting this out. So it's just another belt and suspenders, like Matt Reisinger says, approach. So we've got the slope, we're fully covered. If one system fails, the other's there to back it up.
Right. So when I do these pre-drywall inspections, oftentimes I see them, like I say, running about halfway through, and I will go ahead and notate that the pan flashing does not extend the full depth of the sill. Now, it's not required for them to do so, but I notate it because I think it is a good practice for them to do it. And sometimes I see it done. Oftentimes I do not see it done. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing it. And I'm glad to hear your take on why you feel like that is a nice detail to add. It's not really adding much in terms of material or time.
It's really not.
But we're just kind of going that extra mile to protect the entire sill.
Yep. And I want this house to be there for this homeowner for generations, not 20 years.
Right.
I want them to remodel later and look at this when they replace the window in 20 years and be like, man, that held up great. We don't have to do anything but put a new window in it.
Right.
And it's totally fine. And that's the goal. Like, it comes from all of us builders that have done remodeling before, which is where we started, is in the remodel sector. And you take things apart and you see that they're failed, and why are they failed? And it's typically water.
Yep. Water is very destructive and very expensive to repair the damage.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. What do we got here, Kevin?
So we came inside now. Same window, same slope down here, but now you can see it on the inside. And what we've got here is a boxed out header. And we did it, instead of doing a traditional header where we've got a 2x with a plywood or OSB as a spacer and another 2x and another, it's 2x6 walls. We ended up with 3. We try to limit the amount of thermal bridges, even when we're not building passive. it just makes for more comfort inside the home for the occupant. So with this, we've got two 2x8s sandwiched together, nothing in between, and it leaves us about 2 inches to, this one's going to be open cell spray foam.
Okay.
So they're going to fill that cavity, and then they'll shave it off. And what that'll do is give us a really nice insulated header.
Right.
That's structurally, you know, incredibly sound, because we could have actually got away with a single member header. One of these days I'll try that. I'm just, I
weren't feeling good about it, were you?
Yeah, it's like old dog, new tricks kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I was okay leaving the sandwich meat out, but I want to keep the bread.
Right.
So, you know, this is what we ended up with.
It'd be
And
nice and structurally sound, but you're eliminating the thermal bridge, and you're going to
Absolutely.
be well insulated above the window. That's great.
absolutely. So,
Fantastic.
and
stuff.
then if you notice, you know, I'm short, but I'm not that short, all right? These are 3-foot seals. We set them at 3 foot, and it's a 5.0, so 5 foot tall. Window, one, if you've got a bed, you can arrange it wherever you want.
Okay, yeah.
Two, if you've got furniture, toy boxes, whatever, 90% of all that stuff's less than 3 foot high.
Right.
So you can put it in front of the window and not block your view.
Right. That's
So,
great.
Just
Thinking. You're thinking ahead. I like
trying.
it.
I'm trying.
So explain to me what's going on with this corner over here.
Yeah.
This isn't something I see in production builds.
So we've got, you know, standard for us is 2x6 walls on the exterior. We do 24-inch on center.
Advanced framing.
Advanced framing technique. That's the same with the header. It's advanced framing. And the whole purpose and reason behind it is better thermal insulation, less thermal bridging. So that takes us on into our corners here. And we do a 3-stud corner, AKA California corner, but we're in Texas, so we can't
don't
call
call
them
it
that. So, but what that does is now I can go all the way back here and insulate it and fill this whole cavity up, and we don't have a hot corner like you would on traditional framing, where traditional frame, and I can show you a detail later, but you would actually have 2 studs right here.
Right.
And this back here would be wide open, and it's just a hot box.
Right.
You could never insulate it. So you've got a good nailer here for your sheetrock to go to. You've got good space for your insulation to go. It just makes sense.
Yep.
It's easy for the framers too.
Right.
Like, they didn't have to learn anything new.
Right, right.
It was just, hey, we're doing a 3-stud corner. Here's a picture.
Yeah. It's good
and
stuff.
Follow it.
I think it works. I think it works great, and you're going to be able to insulate it very well. It's
Absolutely.
good detail.
Thank you.
All right, so you got to tell me, why are we putting a ladder in here? Is this so you can climb to the exterior wall? Like, what is? I'm just
Absolutely.
kidding.
This is the 6-year-old's room, and we've got a loft. No, I'm just kidding. So, again, going back on the insulation, thermal bridging ideas from Passive House, we've got a perpendicular wall tying into an exterior wall. So what we do is we put ladder brackets up, and that gives us a place to nail this wall to. Traditionally, you would just carry it on in and tie it all the way to the sheathing. So we put this up here, and it gives us, again, I got a full space back here. You know, it's a 2x4 depth now because we took 1.5 inches off,
Right.
but I can still insulate
Plenty
it.
for
Plenty for insulation. So our effective R value, I'll have to calculate it for you, but you know, traditional on a 2x6, you say it's R19, but effective once you take in the thermal bridges and framing members, typically will drop down to below an R13, which is a 2x4 wall. 2x4s drop all the way down to below R10s. This one should stay closer to R14 when we're said and done.
Okay.
And we're not putting any exterior insulation on this one. On my other ones we do, but this one we're not. They didn't want to go for that, and that's fine. It's, again, this is not a passive house.
It's an expense, yeah.
Yeah. And
Makes sense.
it's all about occupant comfort.
But you're just
So,
thinking about ways to insulate without having gaps in the insulation. And That's
Exactly.
what it's all about.
yeah, the less thermal bridging, the better.
All right, so let's talk about headers here because I don't see one here. So
Yeah.
tell me, why do we not have a header above this doorway?
So it's an interior partitionary wall, meaning it has no bearing, no weight bearing on it. And if you follow the ceiling joists, they go from outside wall to outside wall. So that's holding it's both our pull and our push strength, and there's not really any push down force on that. Where we're getting our push force, where it's pushing the building out, is our rafters where they come down and land.
Right.
And those land on an outside wall and not right here. The only thing that we have to make sure of that I've already discussed with my framer is purlins.
Yeah.
We run purlins. The braces will come down.
Right.
I like to double stack studs underneath my purlin braces, and he's just been aware now, don't land on top of a header.
Right.
Push it over a little bit.
Right.
So
now you still have these here, so I mean, like, this is supported. It's not just, you don't even have to have these.
Yeah,
But
we
this isn't just loosey goosey. I mean, you can put your full weight on.
Yeah, I mean, it'll hold me, and I'm not light. So, but I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's a minor cost savings, but they add up over time.
But essentially, this is just a wall to create a wall. It's not holding anything up except drywall and a door. And it's just to create a wall between this space and that space.
Exactly. And the door weight, it's an interior door. They don't weigh anything.
Yeah.
But it's supported on the 2x, not on the header anyways.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on underneath the bottom plate here.
Yeah.
So let me get an idea of what you've got going on, because I see this pink foam down there. I think I know what we're dealing with, but I want you to tell me more about it.
So this is the exterior wall. You can tell we've got our zip sheathing on it, but we've got a seal sealer here, and this is a capillary break. Okay, this isn't insulation. This isn't air sealing. This is for capillary action. The concrete is porous. It's going to allow a minute amount of moisture up through it. But on an exterior wall, it's more moisture just because rain can hit and come up. So we put a seal. It's actually code to do just a treated piece or seal. We do both. And then I take it one step farther, and we bring it all the way into our interior walls. Less likely that there's going to be any moisture coming up through here, but it's not 100%. So we're just providing that capillary break and trying to separate two different materials that can expand and contract at different rates will help us with a number of things. Sheetrock expansion and contraction later on, and then just keeping moisture out of the wood is always a good thing.
Yeah,
you know, you're just trying to build better and do something that, I mean, for this whole house, it probably cost another 2 or 3 rolls of seal, and they're like less than $10 a roll. Yeah. Probably closer to 6.
So it's not a matter of, I mean, for very minimal amount of money, we're cutting out the what if factor.
Exactly. Yep.
What do we got going over here, Kevin?
So we came outside now. We've got traditional stick frame roof rafters, and I subscribe to the Build Show Network and Matt Reisinger and all the gang. So I took part of his methodology, which is monopoly framing. He gets it from Joe Stiebrick, the perfect wall system.
Right.
And then Scott True, another builder out of Bastrop, is another good guy that I follow as well. He's, great ideas for both of them. Scott came up with a modified monopoly frame system. Okay. And that's what we're going to, in effect, do here.
And what we're talking about is about creating a wall that's like continuous.
Yes.
But also we also want overhangs because overhangs protect our structure.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to do 0 overhangs.
Right.
I know they're very popular and modern, but it's scary. Especially for me as a builder when I've got to warranty the stuff, just so we don't have missing spots there.
Now, monopoly framing would traditionally just go straight up with, say, zip, and then meet with the roof, and then that's
Correct.
it. You've got there is no overhang, and then overhangs are built after the fact, which are really just there for the protection, but have nothing to do with the wall system whatsoever.
Exactly.
And they're just, as Matt Reisinger calls it, like an umbrella, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But in your case, you have rafters that the rafter tails are actually sticking out here. So your plan with that is a hybrid style?
A hybrid style. So we do it traditionally. We'll take 2x4s and we'll come out and build our soffits, and we'll do a fascia with the 2x6 or a 2x4, depending on what we're doing behind it. But this one will be 2x4. And then we've already got our zip ran up. So it's going to go behind the soffit already. We'll come and put a piece of zip on our soffit, a piece of zip on our fascia, and then our roof is zip, and it'll just tie in and it'll overlap, you know, kind of like this on the roof.
Yeah.
And we'll tape that joint, tape this joint, and then tape that soffit.
Tape it all.
We're 100% air sealed. I can air test this as soon as we get doors and windows in, and we're typically under 1 ACH 50 with this method.
And what this does really is it allows you to build, to frame things a little bit more traditionally.
Yes.
But so not to confuse your crew about this monopoly framing system, because a lot of people may not be very familiar with that.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's not, although I think it's a great system, not everyone may be familiar with it, but this they're very familiar with.
Yes.
And now you just take it and you're wrapping it with zip. Yeah. And so you're essentially creating the same thing.
Exactly. The other thing is, you know, we talked with our engineer about it. He's a very old school engineer, set in his ways, and I get that. He's still a great guy. All right, I won't hold it against him. But
sounds like every engineer I've ever met.
So when I did talk to him about, you know, true monopoly style framing with adding the overhangs on later, his concern with us being in a heavy wind zone was uplift.
Yeah.
It's in the code as well. You got to have a certain amount of uplift protection.
I visited Efficient Build. It's a husband and a wife that are building a house out in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado.
Yeah. I know them, actually. I follow them.
It's really an interesting method that they're using in a lot of ways. Like they're using a system of rock wool on the exterior of the property for fire protection. You know, things we just don't do out here, right? Yeah. But they also have some cantilever type stuff going on. And they had an overhang on one section. And the engineer, when you go, it looks like the joist hangers are upside down. The engineer had them hang the joist hangers upside down to prevent uplift.
Nice.
Kind of an interesting thing. They didn't even need to be there.
Yeah.
But they added them there to help prevent
just
uplift.
to keep that from pulling up.
An engineered design.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, when you first looked at it, you were like, "Hey, what's up with
Somebody
this?"
did something wrong.
Yeah, but they totally had an explanation for it.
That's awesome.
Different things are done differently in different parts of the country, and I love the fact that we're able to learn about that stuff, and some of it applies to us, and we can actually use it, and some of it we don't have to. But.
Well, and then, you know, one thing that we didn't touch on inside, and I just thought of this, but we talked about our seal. So that is, you know, down here. But what we do as well is we take a piece of Sega Fentrum tape, which is very aggressive, and it'll stick to this concrete. We'll brush it off, clean it up, and then we'll come at least 2 inches onto the concrete and at least 2 inches onto this. I usually do the 6-inch, so we've got extra. And then we put a piece of zip tape over that top of that lap. Yeah. Is how Zip wants us to do it. And that gives us a continuous air barrier without worrying about sealing the inside.
Right. This is such a big deal because details like that are going to keep, I mean, of course you're talking about air, right? I mean, that's where you're coming from. But I'm also talking about insects.
Yes.
Because we got critters out here, right? And they can get in the smallest little hole. And so anything you can do to seal that off, I mean, that's, you know,
it's a win.
You're creating a barrier from moisture, from air, but also from insects.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to wrap the video up there. Kevin, thanks so much for showing us around and showing us all the cool details you're using on this project. Kevin from BT Grace Homes, give him a follow on Instagram. Matt with Texas Edge Home Inspections, the two of us, we're going to get out of here because we got another site to go visit. But you guys like, follow, share, and do all of that stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you later.